Hi, it's Alex Cosper with another SAC TV Riverside Chat here at the American River. And I left off last time talking about Sacramento economics and how radio in the past has contributed to small businesses getting exposure and bringing them business. Radio is not the only way to do that. In fact, radio is more of a way to complement other media type of promotion. So like it's better to always, like for a small business, it's always been better to have word of mouth as the main buzz. And that word of mouth is generated from just doing good business or good service, whatever it is. Like if it's a restaurant, it's a good restaurant that people want to return to. So, like I said in the last episode, not every commercial ends up working on radio in the sense that it'll bring in business. But I think if you do a bunch of different types of marketing and advertising, there's a thin line between what they are, but marketing is more like getting your brand and your product names out there to the buyers and creating the ability for them to actually purchase your product or service. Advertising is not as direct. It's more part of the same umbrella, but advertising is more spending money on media advertising, to get your name out there and build the brand. And maybe there's no direct way to purchase from the advertising. Like someone hears your commercial on the radio, they can't just immediately buy it, whatever you're selling, unless it's a digital product and the commercial happens to give the web address. So the reason I talk about this is I've always favored small businesses, like being in Sacramento, and I myself have been a small business person as a mobile DJ, not just here in Sacramento, but in like the Bay Area, and even did some work in San Diego when I lived there. But mobile sound is like doing weddings and parties and just company dances and stuff like that, playing music, being DJ, and it's really fun. I did a lot of it before the iPod era, where everyone started to become their own DJ. Starting with the iPod, like in the early 2000s, people would just load up songs on an iPod and they would bring it to me. They'd still hire me to DJ their wedding, but they'd also bring their iPod that had a ton of songs on it, and they wanted me to play those songs. And normally they were popular songs that I already had in my computer system. So yeah, I switched to computers. I started off on turntables in the 80s, and then switched to CD players in the 90s, and then my computer system playing files in the 2000s. So anyway, I just want to mention that marketing and advertising, doing it through various types of media is always more advantageous than doing it through just one type of media. So right now I'm talking to you through YouTube with a video posted on my sites, which include sactv.com and playlistresearch.com. So those two sites themselves promote my videos, just as YouTube in a way promotes my videos. I do several different podcasts. There's Riverside Chats for SAC TV, and then for Playlist Research I do social music talk, which tends to be interviews with people from the radio or music industry. And I'm just now launching a new one called A Century of Radio, that goes along with the history of radio the past 100 years, because that's how long radio's been around. And the reason I talk about radio a lot is because I worked in radio for about 20 of those years here in Sacramento, most of those years at Quad, which was a top 40 station in the 80s and an alternative station in the 90s. And I'm starting to interview some of my friends from the industry in Sacramento, going back and looking at the history of Sacramento radio, because you can learn a lot of things, not just about radio, like who listens to radio anymore, right? As far as entertainment or news, I mean, you can get the stuff on the internet faster, but people still do listen to radio, like in their car for maybe 20 minutes at a time during drive time. And they still listen to stations like KFBK, the news talk station in Sacramento that's been there for many, like almost as long as radio has been around, since 1922. Okay. What's really cool is you can use podcasts to suddenly bring pictures to radio. So that's what I like to do, is interview radio people, because for many years it was just a mystery what they looked like. All you heard was their voice. So now you can do it on YouTube. And so YouTube marketing is a way to promote products and services locally or nationally. And I think if you want to start a successful small business, it's still a good idea to do these kind of videos to promote your business. And my site, Sac TV, it mainly promotes Sacramento as a place to live, and then people from Sacramento and places like this. I mean, this is the American River has so much history embedded in it, because it was the heart of the gold rush of the 1840s, 1849. And, the San Francisco 49ers are named after those gold rush miners. And then a lot of people have gold rush fever. They talk about investing in gold in times of economic uncertainties. And so a lot of people, they kind of look at Bitcoin and crypto as the new gold, imagining that it is a store of value. I don't think time has proven that yet, and I think it's a very dangerous investment to be playing around with crypto and Bitcoin, but some people have made a lot of money off of it so far. So my show, this Riverside Chat show, I like to mix economics with entertainment, because radio, I know no one thinks of it as an industry unless they work in it. But radio itself has gone through tough times, being overshadowed by the internet. So the company that owns 98 Rock, with call letters KRXQ, and the Eagle, KSEG, the classic rock station, that company is called Entercom. I mean, it used to be called Entercom. They were the ones who bought Quad back in 2003. Then later they changed their name to Audacy, and I think it was to bury their financial troubles and try to come off as a new company. Like, we're not just a broadcasting company, we're a podcasting company now. And they just announced in early January 2024 that they're filing bankruptcy, Chapter 11. And I have been watching their stock the past few years just fall. Ever since 2017, when they bought CBS Radio, which includes, K-Rock in Los Angeles and Live 105 in San Francisco, and a bunch of other cool stations, historically cool stations. Ever since they bought that, their stock just started going down. And their stock used to trade in the teens, and then it fell into the pennies. And then they did a reverse stock split. That means you make the price go higher, but you reduce the number of shares, but it's still the same value of the company. Well, they even tried that, raising it from 10 cents a share to $2 a share, and it still went back down to like 10 cents a share. So they haven't been doing well attracting investors, and in other words, they haven't done well in the stock market, and that's what they put all their eggs in one basket for. Back in the 90s, after President Clinton signed the Telecom Act, which basically turned radio over to Wall Street, and it's been a downhill bummer ever since. Now, I don't blame just Bill Clinton, because it was a bipartisan agreement. It just sailed through Congress without much debate, but the Telecom Act changed everything in 1996. It's why you don't have stations like Quad anymore, which, you know, was an independent alternative radio station that did a lot of cool stuff. And now you get a lot of cookie cutter corporate radio that's not so uniquely programmed for the individual market that it exists in. So I want to talk about how Audacy, right before they declared bankruptcy or filed bankruptcy, they let go. Did they let go, or did these guys retire? I know they couldn't afford to pay them good money anymore because they just had run out of good money, the company. Audacy has been financially struggling ever since that 2017 acquisition of CBS Radio. You know, they tried to invest in sports betting, but that didn't pay off. At least it hasn't yet. But the two guys who left Sacramento Radio, who had been here forever, were Pat Martin on KRXQ 98 Rock, which used to be 93 Rock, and Bob Keller on the Eagle, KSEG, and he used to be on KZAP. So they're both legendary radio figures, and I would love to interview them both for my podcast. Catch up with what they're doing. I've already interviewed both in the past for my radio history projects. But yeah, I think radio in general is going through hard times, and that's why you're seeing big name people start to disappear into the cloudy world of radio, where it's not clear what the future is anymore. But I can tell you that it needs to radically reinvent itself, and radio needs to become more local. It needs to be about the local market instead of just this cookie cutter thing like a fast food restaurant chain just that duplicated all around the nation. It can't be like that anymore. They need to really look at the damage they've done. I'm talking about the owners of these big radio chains. Look how their stocks went into quicksand and dissolved. And it's because they tried to nationalize it and really corporatize it and just suck all the local culture out of it. Just bad idea. Didn't work. So I've been writing about this for years. So they never really listen to my advice. My voice isn't loud enough in the industry to reach them in the first place, probably. But hopefully, radio will continue as some kind of medium that serves local markets, because they still can be important in an emergency, like a blackout. Maybe you lost your internet connection or whatever, and you happen to have a battery operated radio, and you can dial into it and find out what's going on in your local city. So radio still has a use for that, in that sense, for emergencies and for news and entertainment. But knowing that the internet has become the primary source now, just for people to get news, information, entertainment, sports, business, whatever. I mean, it's right there at your fingertips online, and that has really diminished the value of what radio was in the 20th century. Like I said, I want to interview other people from radio's history, especially here in Sacramento. All right, that'll do it for now. Let's meet again here at the river for another Riverside Chat.